Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we'll be making a first person player controller in Unity, and this is how it works. So it can look up, down, left, right, and it can also move forward, backward, and it can even go sideways. Now let's make it. Okay, so here I have a small city that I just downloaded from the internet. So I'm gonna add a player to this city. So for that, let's first add a capsule, which is gonna be our player, and let's reset its position to 0, 0, 0, and let's put it a bit above the ground. I'll make it a little bit more bigger, like this, and I'll also add a cube to this so that we know where the player is pointing at. So I make the cube small and put it right here. Okay, so now I'll just give a material to this player. So for that I'll create a folder, and it's gonna be colors, and let's create a material and make this player, and I'm gonna make it blue for the player. Okay, so now let's add gravity to this. So for that, go to the capsule, and let's rename this capsule to player. Now let's go down here, add a component, and let's go to physics and add a rigid body. So now if you run, our player falls, but then it falls like this. We don't need it to fall like this. So to fix that, go back to our capsule, and in this constraints, freeze all the rotations. So freeze all the axis rotations, and that will not allow the player to fall like that. Now it will just stand there like that. Okay, so now let's make it move. So for that, let's create a new folder, and let's name this folder scripts, and here let's create a new C# script called player, and double click to open it. Okay, so first we need a variable for storing the rigid body, so I'll make this a private variable. So rigid body rb. So this is a private variable named rb, and it will store in rigid body. Okay, so now we need to access the rigid body component from the object. So for that, to access a component from the game object, we have to say rb is equal to, and we have to use this get component function, and then add in rigid body here, and then you have to put brackets and then sentence there. So this is how you access a component from the object. So now let's make the player move. So for that, let's access the rigid body. So for that, let's say rb, and then we'll be accessing the velocity of the player, velocity, and now we have to say is equal to new vector 3, and then for the x we have to say, so we have to say in input dot get access. So I'll explain what get access after we finish this function, and then put two brackets, and in here we need to enter the name of the access. So now let's go back to Unity, wait for this to compile, and if you go to edit project settings and go to uh, input manager, you'll see that there's this thing called access. So this is what we are accessing using get access. So here if I open this, you see horizontal. So we have a negative button, which is the left key, and the positive button, which is the right key. So we can use this to control our player. So this is the horizontal axis. So let's copy this and put it here. And now for the z-axis, we'll do the same thing in input dot get access, and for this let's go back to Unity, wait for it to compile. We'll be using vertical for going forward and backwards. So let's copy this and put it here. And now let's go back to Unity. Okay, so now if I run, wait, I forgot to attach the script. I always forget to attach the script to this player. So just drag and drop the component here. And now let's run the game. So now you can see that we can move, but the gravity is lower. So to fix this, what we have to do is, instead of the 0 in the y-axis, what we have to do is we have to say rb dot velocity dot y. So this basically means that the y velocity remains what it is, so it doesn't change. So now let's go back to Unity and see what happens. Okay, so let's run the game. And now our player is fine, but the player kind of moves a bit too slow. So what we can do is, let's go back to our script. Let's create a new variable. Let's make this a public variable so that we can access it in the inspector. So public float speed. So this will control the speed of our player. So here, if I, in this function, if I click the up arrow key or the down arrow key, the value will be 1 or -1. So we just need to multiply that value by speed so that we can make it go faster. And let's do the same thing for vertical. So multiply by speed. Okay, so now let's go back to Unity. And let's make the speed something like 5 and see how it works. Okay, so now our player is moving a bit more faster, which is good. If you want, you can make it go even faster. For me, this is enough. So now let's make this a first person player. So for that, let's take the player, take the camera, put it right in the player's head like this, like this. And then you have to make the camera a child of this capsule, which is a player. Okay, and you have to do one more thing. We need to create an empty parent, and let's name this viewpoint. So this is used so that our player can look up and down, and this is just used for looking up and down. So now we need to lock the mouse pointer. If you go to the view, we need to lock the mouse pointer in the center so that's more easier to look around. So to do that, go back to our script, and to lock our mouse pointer, we have to say cursor dot lock state is equal to cursor lock mode, and there are three modes, which is confined, none, and locked. So confined means like the mouse pointer can only go inside the player's view, and none means the normal mouse pointer, and locked means then the mouse pointer is locked in the center, which is what we need. So click on locked. So this is how, but if we lock it, we need a way to get out of the locked state. So for that, let's say if get key down, it should be input dot get key down, and then key code dot escape. So if I click on the escape key, we should be able to exit the locked mode. So for that, we need to let's copy this piece of code, Ctrl C and Ctrl V, and instead of locked, we'll just make it none. So it's just normal. So now let's go back to our project and test it. Compile, and let's run it. So now you can see that our cursor is not locked yet. It will only be locked if you click on the screen. So now you cannot see where the mouse pointer is. So it is at the center, but it's invisible. And if I click escape, you can now move it again. Okay, so now let's make the player look left and right. So now we need to make the player look up and down. So let's go back to our script, and here we need to make a temporary variable, or I think it's better let's make it into a public variable here. So let's say let's name this variable, so it should be a vector2 type. So vector2, let's say mouse input. And now let's go down here and say mouse button, mouse input is equal to new vector2, and here let's say input input dot get access, and for this we need to say mouse x. So it should be exactly like this. Wherever it is in upper caps, it should be upper caps, and where it is small letters, it should be small letters. So it should be exactly spelled like this, then only it will work. And then for the y-axis, for up and down movements, let's say uh, input dot get access mouse, should be a capital M, mouse y. So from this we can access the mouse inputs for looking up and down. So now let's say transform dot rotation is equal to quaternion. Quaternion is a very complicated thing, so I'm not going to explain it in this section. Quaternion dot Euler. That's how we can control this transform dot rotation. And then let's put this brackets, and inside this let's say trans for the x-axis, let's say transform dot rotation dot uh, Euler angles dot x. So it just means that the x-axis will just not change, will not change its rotation. And here let's say, let's just copy this entire thing for the y-axis, control C, control V, and here let's make this y and add this with mouse input dot x. So that's how we can look left and right. And for the last z-axis, let's just copy paste this one more time and just add a z there. Okay, so now we should be able to look left and right. So let's go back to Unity and see this in action. Wait, we have a, oh wait, this is not supposed to be there. That's why there is there. Sometimes my Visual Studio will add some random things here, so just deleted that. That's why this error. There's no mistake in the code. Okay, wait for it to compile. And now if we run, and if you move your mouse pointer, you should be able to view around. Okay, but we are not able to move properly. Okay, that's a small problem. We're not able to move properly. So to fix this issue, back to our code, and let's make some few changes to this line. So I'll just delete this new vector3 thing, and I'll also delete this part, this rb.velocity.py. From there you have to delete it. let's just put this thing here. And now here, let's say transform dot forward, and then we have to multiply that by input dot get axis. It should be vertical vertical vertical. So now let's go back to our code, and now we should be able to move forward better. Like we should be able to move forward the right way. So now wherever I'm pointing, we can go forward now. It's just like in the real 3D video games. Okay, so now let's make side movements. So when we click A or D, left or right, we have to be able to move left and right. So for that, let's duplicate this code and put it down here. Now instead of forward, let's put left. Wait, you have to put right, not left. Right. And instead of vertical, let's put horizontal. And you have to spell both of these the exact way. If you make a single change, it will show an error. Now let's see whether our player is moving like sideways. Yeah, now it's fine. But now I can't move front and backwards. So for that, okay, so I have to go back to the code, and let's take this part, just Control X, cut it, and then add a plus sign here, and then let's add the piece of code there, and just delete this piece of code, just like that. Okay, so now let's see whether that's working. Okay, so gravity is still slow, but we can move properly. We can even move sideways properly now. Now this is more better. We can go everywhere like this. Okay, so now let's make gravity normal. Let's go back to our code, and here let's just add. So we need to add this thing one more time, and just delete all of this. And here let's say up. So we need to go down. So let's say minus transform dot up, which means it will go down. And this, let's multiply this by 3. Now it should be normal gravity. Okay, now it's fine. So now we need to be able to look up and down. So right now we cannot look up or down. So let's make it. So let's go back to our code, and we need to make a variable for the viewpoint we just created. So this viewpoint to make the player look up and down. So let's make a public game object view point viewpoint. Okay, and we also need one more variable if we need smooth rotation for up and down, and let's name this uh, so let's make this a float variable, and let's name this vertical rot, which means full form as vertical rotation. So down here, after this code, after this piece of code, let's say uh, vertical rotation is plus equal to mouse input dot y. So we are adding mouse input dot y to vertical root, and now if we, so this value can go like below 0 and above the limit, so you might sometimes be able to put the camera upside down. So to avoid that, let's say vertical rot is equal to math f dot clamp vertical rot. So we need, so this function is used to clamp, to give a limit to a variable. So first we need to add the variable here, and then the minimum and the maximum. So the minimum, let's say it can be minus 70, let's say, and you have to add a f because this is a variable, so we're just saying it's a float, and let's just put positive 70 here, positive 70. Okay, so now let's go here and say viewpoint dot rotation transform dot rotation is equal to, let's copy this and put it here, and we need to make some changes here. So we don't need this plus mouse x here, so we'll delete that, and in the x let's delete this, and let's say vertical rot, and now let's see whether this is working. Wait for it to compile. Now let's go to the player. Down here we have the slot for the viewpoint, let's put it there, and now let's test it. Okay, so now we can look up and down. So if you want to invert the view, so you just need to put a minus here, and that will invert the up and down movements. So I think I'm comfortable with the inverted one, and let's run it. Okay, this object is here, so let's just make the object a bit more bigger so that we won't be able to see it when we are looking up. Okay, so now let's run it, and we are done with our first person player. So I'll just show you a tour around this small city. So here uh, we have the small cafeteria here, and I think our player can't walk over small obstacles. So uh, yeah, it cannot. Wait, it can. Okay. I think the player is too big to fit in that door. Okay, so we have a small cafeteria here, and here we have just some roads, and there we have some kind of a small parking, I guess. And that's it. If you like this video, please subscribe and click the bell icon. Thanks for watching.